Hi, I'm LaVonda and welcome to Homeschoolific. So there are a lot of families that we notice are virtual schooling or are distance learning with their school, and I thought it would be helpful to make a video to help you make your life a little bit easier. Okay, so when my daughter was in 4th grade, this is my oldest, we actually did a virtual school called Connections, and I've got a little bit of experience in regards to just giving some tips on how it can make your life easier by following these tips. I've got 5 easy tips for making your virtual or distance learning schooling experience much easier. My first tip is to sit with them for that first week or so, or at least for several days throughout the beginning portion of their journey while they're virtual schooling or distance learning. You don't need to be like in the screen if they're on their, computers with their teachers or their laptops with their teachers. I noticed that sometimes kids will tend to fall behind on their work. A lot of that is because, they're getting distracted, they've got computer access, sometimes they're playing video games when they should be focusing or doing other things. And you get to see as a parent what they're doing, their strengths, their weaknesses, anything that they might need more assistance with. And you can tell their teachers those things and how you can work together to help those weaknesses that in areas that they might have. Sitting next to them or near them also gives you a chance to see what kind of work they're doing. You can see if they've got a lot of busy work that's not necessarily essential or helpful to the process of learning, or what it may not be helpful in what they're learning. It may just be something extra to keep them busy. I noticed that when we did virtual schooling, there was a lot of busy work, and my daughter at the time, they met with her teacher. We met with their teacher twice a week, and with updates and that kind of thing, the teacher would give us those updates, or she would be in a classroom, virtual classroom setting on her screen, and the teacher would teach certain things, and the kids could type things inside of the chat area, and she would answer those questions. And then they had times where they were available to to answer questions, and the kids could speak to them. But my point in saying that is that you get to see what they're actually learning, what they're doing, what may not necessarily be helpful. They do get a lot of busy work and those types of things, and you can kind of weed out certain things they don't necessarily need to do as a parent. And even just talking to the teachers, they'll let you know. I had a teacher during that time tell me, because the days get really long with those lessons that they give you, especially because there's so many little things involved in getting this lesson complete that's not always necessary. And so she would tell me, if she understands certain things already, don't worry about that, just kind of skip it over. But it also lets you know if your kids are getting easily distracted, or it helps them stay focused. If they know that mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or someone, whoever their guardian is, if they know that you're near, then they're more likely to focus on what they're doing. My second tip is to give them more breaks. They need breaks often. Imagine your kids are sitting at their desk or sitting, wherever they are with their screens. That's a lot of screen time. Give them more breaks. Allow the break time to be where they're doing active things, they're physical, they're jumping around, they're outside, they're taking a walk, whatever it is. They need more breaks throughout the day. They need more breaks throughout the day. Also, those breaks can include coloring or, doing crafts or something artistic, something like that. I would always include those to kind of give their minds a break, but it's also relaxing. What I notice is that we forget, because we expect when the kids are doing school, they're not sitting for that long, especially in front of a screen. If you worked a desk job anywhere and you're sitting in front of a screen all day and that was your job, it kind of drains a lot of your energy away, and it's doing the same thing to the kids. So give them those breaks. Let them get up, let them move around, let them go jump on the trampoline or take a walk, whatever you need to do. Give them something fun and physical to do so that their minds aren't just always going, or so that they feel a bit refreshed It also helps with just giving them a break from the screens, because it's not healthy for our kids, whether it's the screen that they're watching TV on or video games. Sitting in front of a screen for 8 hours a day is not good, especially for a kid. So give them those breaks. My third tip is to make sure that you're checking their work at the end of the week. Do not let weeks go by and you haven't checked in the system, because whatever portal that they're using, there's a portion where you as the parent need to go in and check to make sure your child is going through the lessons and getting things done the way that they need to. Anything that requires a grade that needs to get done, make sure those things are complete. Do not go to the end of the month. Do not wait to the end of the semester. You need to be on it. You need to make sure that they are completing things, because before you know it, they're a week or two behind on lessons, which also adds to the frustration of trying to accomplish, a year's worth of school and the time that they have, in addition to the work that they're behind. So stay on top of it at the end of every week, or even at the end of the day. See what they've done. That's even better. I would suggest the end of the day. However, I know that there are a lot of parents that are doing this and also working from home, so I totally get it. But get to Friday, look everything over, and see what your child needs to complete. Make sure they're completing everything they need to complete that week. If it's just one or two things, that's fine. They could probably jump in and catch up, that one thing or those two things, but I would never suggest more than that. My goal for your child would be to finish everything that's due that week by Friday, and if not, they could do it on Saturday. My fourth tip is to keep an open communication with your child's teacher. Okay, so here's the thing. Your child is home and you're not the teacher necessarily, but in this case, you really need to pretend like you are the teacher's assistant, because that is what you are. And so there's a certain level of responsibility that you have to take on to make sure that you're communicating with the teacher. If your child is struggling, if your child doesn't understand something, you have them message the teacher, or you message the teacher. Make sure that the teacher is receiving the notice that, hey, my child doesn't understand. Hey, I'm not sure what this grade is. Can you explain to me where they got that? You need to be even more proactive, because there's a level of hands-offness that, I know that's not a word, but there's a level of hands-offness that people have. They're like, well, the teacher's got it. They're taking care of all that. But even while even when they're in school, you should still be interacting, but even more so at home, because it can appear like they're getting lots of things done because they're in the place that they're supposed to be in. They've got the screen on, and they're on the computer, or they're on their laptops, whatever, learning, and you don't really know that, hey, this is not really happening. Let me understand why the teacher needs this. Honestly, you need to be best friends with that teacher. That's pretty much what it's going to be. Make sure that you all have an understanding, that you're clear, that your child is clear, expectations are set. You never want it to be said that you never reached out or you didn't know because the teacher didn't say. Like, any questions you have, email the teacher. Never be afraid to stay in contact with your child's teacher. And so my last tip is to create some type of a reward system so that your child feels accomplished, or they got something to look forward to. So just imagine you're at work. When we're working, or if you're working, there's a incentive at the end of it, right? One, your check. Some of you have bonuses. Some of us have commissions that we make, and so the incentive is to work harder, because you know that there's a prize at the end of it, right? There's an incentive there, and so your kids need the same thing. It is not spoiling them. This is real life. Like, you're teaching them what it's like. Work hard, and good things, right? Good things happen. Stay focused. You'll be successful. Those types of things. There's a reward involved in giving the best that you can give. Employers do it. Even the grocery stores do it, or just regular stores, they do it as well. The more you spend, right, giving more, and they give you rewards. The same thing should be said in there's at home, and it could be as simple as something like this. So I've got, let's see, just these little stickers, and then like a sticker chart for younger ones. We recently stopped doing that system, but they just kind of put their stickers on, even for like your child. Have them add a sticker for each lesson they complete, and have a reward once their chart's filled, or give them tickets. We've got tickets that we're using right now. Give them tickets, and after so many tickets, they can trade it in for, a trip for some ice cream or something at the arcade. Just something that'll help them and push them to work hard, because they're doing something that's not always comfortable. Honestly, as a homeschool parent, as a home educator, I will tell you that the hardest year of my time homeschooling was when my daughter was in virtual school. One, I had no control over what, curriculum she was given or anything like that, but I also had to keep up. There was a lot of work involved that was, honestly, in my opinion, a lot of busy work that wasn't necessarily helpful. But their days get really long, and that's a long day at a screen. Give them a break. Make it exciting for them. Make it something fun. You're really just trying to break up some of that screen time for them at the end of it all, and reward them. Because when they're in school, a lot of times they would get prizes. You can earn things. The same thing when they're home, whether you're distance learning because your school shut down, or they're only doing partial in school, partial out, or you're virtual schooling because you don't want to have to worry about what's happening. This is a good way to kind of help the process along, to help encourage your child to keep going. You see what they're doing, you see that they're trying. These are not normal times that we're in. We all understand this, and I hope this helps. Okay, now I'm going to get into some questions that I was asked about distance learning or virtual schooling in our comments. Okay, so I put out a post on YouTube asking if you all had any questions in regards to distance learning or virtual schooling that I could help answer to make things a little bit easier for you. And so here we go. So one of our parents asked, what do we do for physical education? Okay, so anything active in our home counts as physical education. I send our kids out to jump on the trampoline. We go for walks. We do a size workout, which is like a beach body workout videos. We've got those. They do those. And I've also created a curriculum for physical education a few years ago. And so I pull that out and I go through those things with our kids and those activities and things that I planned for when I was a part of a co-op some time ago. And so we use that, and that's a big help. But anything that's active, it doesn't necessarily need to be a curriculum for homeschooling, it doesn't necessarily need to be a curriculum for physical education, which you rarely find, honestly, is non-existent. Put on a video on YouTube. Let them dance with what they're doing, or give them a workout video or an active video, a movement, something video on YouTube. Go for the hikes, go for the long walks, ride your bikes, let them, have them roller skate. Anytime where they're being active and it's there's an intention of activity, it counts. Absolutely. And even if it's unintentional, even if it's we ended up going for a 5-mile walk and that's just kind of how it went, that counts as physical education for our family. And I feel like that will count anywhere. If your district requires that you put certain things down or how much time, those count. Anytime your child is active and you've got activities planned where they're physical, it counts. Another question was, with being home, does it limit the amount of homework, quote unquote, that they're given, if any? Okay, so with homeschooling, for us, I do not give homework. We work together throughout the day. They have their work that I schedule for them and that we do, and that's it. In virtual schooling, and even with distance learning, what happens is that you've got a certain amount of work that they've already assigned And then anything that you don't finish, anything that your child doesn't finish in that, during that certain time slot, they've got to get to it. So there might be a level of homework involved. I don't know if we can call it that because you're home anyway, if you're doing either of those things. But yes, there's extra work, and it's typically with virtual schooling or distance learning, from what I know and what I've experienced, the homework is the work that they didn't complete during like the school time that we set. So maybe they got to go on Saturday and wrap it up. You know what I mean? So like I was saying, at the end of the week, make sure they're done. If there's anything they haven't completed, give them like an hour, like, hey, on an hour on Saturday, can you do this? I don't like adding anything extra to their regular school days, because that can be a long day for them. It almost feels like punishment to add on to what they're already doing that day. Like maybe unless they desired that as opposed to their hour on Saturday, but typically no homework. The next question was, how would I suggest a parent that's not really focused on education help their child succeed with virtual schooling or distance learning? So what I would say is to work well with their teacher. Honestly, work well with their teacher. Communicate, like I was saying before, with the teacher, and that helps a lot. So you don't necessarily have to be the one, creating the curriculum and doing all, teaching them that or teaching them this, but make sure they have resources. Work with their teacher, right? Make sure that there's a high level of communication between you and their teacher. No week should go by where you have not communicated with their teacher, right? Also, making sure that they've got resources available. So maybe they need, math things to help them, placement sheets or things like that, things that you can print off or purchase at a place, really anywhere, like Target has resources. I love Lakeshore Learning, which is a teacher's kind of store, and obviously Amazon, anything that can help them. Like even like in the back here, we've got maps, like that would be considered a resource for your child. And so little things like that, like over here, we've got different resources to help them kind of hone in and focus on those skills or practice skills that they may be learning. You don't necessarily have to be teaching them to do that. Making sure that they have things to practice the things that they're learning, which are the resources, additional resources, or have access to even online with monitoring so they don't get distracted. That's a great way to help your children be just successful in their educational careers without having to be the one that's necessarily teaching them or coming up with curriculum or anything like that. So make sure the teacher's communication with you is on point, and make sure your kids have access to the resources they need. This also includes the library or in anywhere else you think might be helpful. Museums about certain things, field trips, whatever. Those are our resources. Make sure they're available, and that will be, honestly, I feel like that's kind of like the best make for a well-rounded education, and having that support from mom and dad as well as their teacher. And the last question that was asked was, with the C word not really going anywhere, how do I make this model for our kids learning successful? And so what I got from that question was, with life not really going back to the way that things were, and my kids are being virtual schooled or distance learning, how can I make this work? Like, how do I make this work long term? And so what I would say is to do all the things that I suggested. And just to recap, making sure that you're communicating with the teacher, giving your child some type of reward system, giving them nice breaks, as many breaks as you can that doesn't make their day really, really long, and making those breaks physical breaks, like non-screen breaks. No TVs is a break, it's not a break. giving them movement, getting them moving, and also making sure that you're observing their work, checking and making sure that they're getting things done, and you're seeing, you get to see their strengths and their weaknesses and communicating that with their teacher. And so those are the best things that I can say. Those things will make your time during this period much easier. So I hope this was helpful. I know that these things will help you. They helped me when I did virtual schooling for that year. It also showed me that I did not want a virtual school anymore. It was much harder than regular homeschooling. Honestly, if you don't really like that, here's the thing. There's so many homeschool curriculums that you can order that have everything that you need in there and tell you exactly what to do. They have a schedule for you and everything, and you follow that schedule. And there's a lot less of that pressure and a lot less busy work involved. So I tell people all the time, homeschooling, like actual homeschooling, is much easier than on the parent and the child. A lot less busy work for sure, but it's much easier on the parent than what my experience was with virtual schooling, and I'm sure what a lot of parents are feeling with distance learning. So hats off to all the teachers that are making that happen and putting all the extra time in transitioning from the in-school learning to virtual school, or distance learning, excuse me. And for the ones that are in virtual school, you guys are amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep, trying to give kids the best education that you can give them. And parents, you got this. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Remember that we have resources down below in the description box, and I will see you in the next video.